Hello everybody, this is Dave from Tanked Up Life. I'm going to do a little video on my affordable CO2 system. I decided to hook this up to my 30-gallon, just kind of for the heck of it, to see what it does. The tank is already looking fantastic, but I did notice that the Red Tiger Lotus is not growing nearly as well as it did when I had CO2 injection going on. Excuse me for my voice. I just had some surgery, so I'm a little under the weather, but I figured I'm home, and the channel's picking up some steam. I have almost 100 subscribers. The feedback has been amazing. Everybody has been pleasant and polite, and we've been sharing information back and forth, which is really what this is all about. So I'm going to do my best to show you how this system works. I will put a link in the description to this. Everything I have here from Amazon. Almost everything's from Amazon. I have no affiliate links. I don't make any money. This channel is really just for fun. Maybe in a few years when I retire, there'll be enough viewers that I can actually get monetized. But right now, it's just strictly for fun. So I make no money on anything. It's really just, I love fish. I love fish tanks. And I just want to share my knowledge and experience with you guys. There's not one right way to do things. There's several different ways to do things. This is just the way that I do things. I've had fish since I was about, I want to say 14 years old, and I'm in my mid-50s. So I've always been very successful in all my fish tanks. I've kind of always been the envy of anybody in my family or friends who are keeping fish. I guess I've just taught myself through the years, and usually my fish tanks all do great and are very successful. Once in a while you hit a bump in the road, but in general, my tanks all do good and look great. And that's kind of my hobby that I've always come back to through my life is fish. So anyway, the camera is in front of me, so it's a little awkward, but I'm not looking too great to be on camera right now with my surgery. So anyway, I'm going to try to show you how I set this up. I'm going to splice a couple videos together. I'm going to have it up on the tank today, and we'll also do a before and an after, so you'll be able to see what my tank looks like today, and then I'll do a follow-up video maybe in 2 weeks that will show, how much the CO2 has affected the tank. So this is the CO2 system that I bought from Amazon. It's the Silcia, I guess it's pronounced, CO2 system, CO2 generator. Now, the new type uses citric acid and baking soda and cold water. All of this is very cheap. I believe this is $75 on Amazon. Now, when you look at it on Amazon, it does come in 3 sizes. This is the smallest. It does not look like it's this small. When it came in the mail, I was kind of like, that's it. But I had this on my 28-gallon bow front, and I was doing, I want to say a little less than a drop a second, a bubble a second. And it lasts for about 3 weeks. Now, that's with it on a smart outlet. I had it coming on about an hour before the light turns on, and then it goes off about an hour before the light turns off. I know the norm is more like a bubble a second, but honestly, you really don't need that much CO2. Any CO2 you add to your water is going to make your plants grow. And I found that there is a risk. I did wipe out my tank, killed everything once with this, and my fault. I was redoing my tank, and I actually plugged this into the wrong smart outlet, and so it was going all night long. And that CO2 level, I woke up and basically just about almost every fish was dead. Amazingly, all my shrimp had survived, but in general, I wiped out most of my tank. I will never make that mistake again. So you do have to be careful. I know some experts like George Farmer, who's like a god of planted aquariums. I believe he does have his CO2 going like 24/7. You can do that, but if you do that, you really have to lower the bubble count. My opinion is it has to be very low, because when the light goes off, your plants will start using up oxygen. And so you could get into a situation, if you have a heavily planted tank, where there's just not enough oxygen for your plants and your fish are going to die, your plants are going to still keep going. So I find that to be a little risky, again, but he's on a level that I'm not at. So I basically like this to come on about an hour before the light comes on. Now, I'm in New York where the water is very, very hard. So it's more difficult for CO2 to be absorbed in the water. If you live maybe a place like Florida with very soft water, you might not want the CO2 to come on before the light comes on. But at least if you have hard water, you can really have the CO2 turn on about an hour before your lights turn on. So you can kind of get that CO2 going in the water. So when the light comes on, when the plants then will switch over to using CO2 and giving off oxygen, you'll kind of already have a head start. So that to me has worked the best. So let me go through this a little. Now, unfortunately, I kind of didn't think about doing this video yesterday. So this is actually already pressurized. I did put the contents in the tank yesterday, but I'm going to show you, you can see the gauge there, exactly what that process is, okay? So you're going to need a scale, okay? Again, this came from Amazon also, and you're going to need it to be in grams, okay? On the top of the bottle, it does show, let's see if we can do this here, A, B, and water. A, 90 grams, B, 100 grams, and C is 150 mLs of water. So A is the citric acid. I marked mine with a big A. B is a baking soda. Okay. So the process is, this is what I do. I take a Tupperware container. I put it onto the scale. I zero out the scale. Okay. Then I will slowly pour this into the scale till I hit 90. Okay, now I used to then use a separate container and pour B in till I hit 100. I don't do that now. I just pour in the A till it hits 90. I pour in the B till it gets to 190, and then I'm basically good to go. All right, if you're a little over, it really doesn't matter. You know, just try to keep it basically as whatever the cylinder says on top. All right, the hard part is what comes next. Then I have this little test tube here. Little measuring cup. And you need to put 150 mLs. I got this at Walmart. 150 mLs of ice cold water. That's basically to the top of this. All right, so what I do is I take this, I shove this in my freezer for about 10 minutes till it gets ice cold. And I also put a bottle of water in my freezer for a few minutes to get the water really cold. I fill up this bottle. This comes with this, okay? So first thing is you're gonna measure out your ingredients, okay? You're gonna pour it into the top of the container. I found this doesn't really work. I basically take a piece of paper, I tape it into a cone, I shove it in the top of the bottle, and I just kind of shake, I shake everything, okay, down into the bottle. So now I've got the citric acid and the baking soda all mixed up in the bottle. Now, people online have said, oh, put the citric acid on top of the baking soda because one's heavier than the other. I found it makes no difference. I've done it every different way. At the end of the day, once the water's in here, you're going to swirl this to kind of mix everything up. I've never had, people have said that they have like hard chunks in the bottom of this when they empty it. I've never had that. When it goes empty, I just rinse it out with some warm water. Whatever's in there comes right out. Then I rinse it with cold water because you want this to be cold. You know, you don't want this to be hot as you're putting things in. You'd rather it be room temperature or cold. So anyway, you've got the baking soda and the citric acid inside the generator. Okay, this obviously screws off. Again, I can't open it now because it's pressurized. You then put this on top. I fill this with water. You're supposed to slant this at a little angle, and you, as fast as you can, pour the water in. And with this valve wide open, you put the top on and screw it in. The minute you put the water in, it's going to start releasing CO2. And so you're fighting the lid as you're trying to screw the lid in because gases are escaping. So the easiest way to do this is the valve. If I turn this, CO2 will start coming out. Is to have the valve wide open. Yes, you're going to lose some CO2, but you're not going to be able to get the top on, you know, when gas is trying to come out of the bottle because it's going to fight you. So I open this all the way, I pour the water in, and I screw that top closed, okay? As soon as the threads catch, then you can close this and you can tighten this up all the way. Now I make this very tight, all right? Like this doesn't really budge. That's it. The bottle will get very, very cold, especially from the bottom. You do a slight swirl, okay? I do a swirl either direction. And then it really has to sit for several hours for the pressure to slowly build up. So I did this last night. Now we're in the morning. I don't know if you can clearly see, but it's in the green zone, and it's kind of it's a hair under that ideal mark, but it's just a hair under there. Okay. Again, this only costs about $75 on Amazon. These cost, I think they were around $10, $12 a bag. So this is really, really an affordable CO2 option because, again, it lasts in a 30-gallon. This will last me, I want to say, 2 to 3 weeks. Now, obviously, if you have a bigger tank, this comes in multiple different sizes. The bigger you go, the more money you get. It does come with the CO2 diffuser, and you can buy replaceable discs. We'll get into that in a moment. It does come with airline tubing that's supposed to be CO2 compatible. I don't know if it actually was. I ended up purchasing this from Amazon. This is F-Zone Aqua CO2 line, okay? And then it also comes with this. So what you do here is, this is your bubble counter. You're going to attach the airline tubing, push it down on that little nozzle, and then you're going to run this cap over it and tighten this up. And this should pretty much stay like this forever, okay? You're gonna open this, which is the bubble counter. Now, I know people have used oils in here, and I know like George Farmer, again, has mentioned, and some other big famous aquascapers have mentioned that instead of using water, they do use like different types of oils. That will not work in this. This is the third one of these that I've already purchased. The good thing about this is they sell everything that you need for this thing separately. So this is, the only downside here is that this is plastic, and if you tighten this too much, it will basically just break off. So you have to be a little gentle with this, okay? Even though, I don't know why it says it's glass on the description, it is not glass, it's plastic. Anyway, so do not use oil in this. It will not work. It's just not designed to use oil, and it literally will break this thing immediately. You would then fill this with water, and again, I will show this when it's hooked up to the tank. And you would put this back on. You don't need any Teflon thread seal or anything. Okay, there's an O-ring inside, so don't over tighten. Okay, you just want a slightly snug fit. Okay. Now, here's the solenoid valve. Okay, and you're just gonna, see if I can capture this. Plug this in there till it locks in, okay? That attaches to this power adapter, and you can take this power adapter and put it on a timer. And so when this has power, it releases CO2. As soon as the power is stopped, the CO2 stops. So that's a big perk of this system. Now, this is not a dual valve system. I know in the professional systems, you kind of have two valves. You have one releasing the gas and then another one that's kind of maintaining the gas pressure. However, this is an affordable system, and I have not had a problem with it maintaining the bubble count. This going all the way down to pretty much the yellow zone will still be fairly accurate in how many bubbles per second. So if you're concerned about that, you really shouldn't be. Do I check it every once in a while? Yeah, I'll peek behind there and I'll take a look at it to make sure that the bubble is still going about once every, I do basically almost like once every 2 seconds or once every second and a half to be a bubble, but I've never had a problem. This pretty much maintains, even while the pressure is dropping, it'll pretty much maintain that bubble count until it's almost exhausted, okay? So again, I've not had that problem of one of those, that I needed one of those like dual valve systems. Anyway, this I put on a smart outlet, and I put the smart outlet, again, I set it for when it goes on and when it goes off. And then the other end of this will go onto a diffuser. Now, what I'm doing for this tank is I purchased this Chem U-tube joint because I like things to be very, very neat. So what I'm going to do, here it is I'm going to attach this to a line, and then this will go right over the hinge, the back of the fish tank. Basically, I have a regular 30-gallon tank. It's not rimless. This does come in different sizes. You can buy narrower. This is the 20 millimeter. You can buy narrower. You can buy wider. This fits perfectly over a standard PetSmart Petco fish tank. So anyway, this will then go over the back of the tank, And then the remaining CO2 line will go down with a couple suction cups to the diffuser. Now, here is the diffuser that I purchased. This is a new diffuser. I've never purchased this type of diffuser before, pollen style. I'm going to open this up for you guys. This is about $22. Again, I got this at my local fish store. Okay, kind of a funky looking diffuser. I like the look of it. So this will be basically, I'm going to put this in I plan this to be right in the middle of the tank on the back wall. Okay. It does come with a little suction cup, okay, for the line. And that's going to really it. After that, you know, we kick it on. We make sure that to adjust the bubble count, you use this knob. Is it a little sensitive? Yes, it is a little sensitive, but it is not difficult to tune it. So once you get it close, yeah, you kind of have to be a little twitchy, okay? But wherever you set it, it is going to stay. It's not gonna, you know, loosen up, and in 2 or 3 days you're getting crazy amount of CO2 or no CO2. It's actually a sensitive yet fairly accurate adjustment right here. Okay, so it's this knob is what adjusts the bubbles. And again, I'm going to show you that once I have this set up. Now, the perk of this small bottle, let me remove this for a minute, is that it's so easy to hide. I actually had this sitting behind my fish tank stand when I had my 28-gallon bowl front, because everybody's got a little bit of space usually behind their stand, between the stand and the wall. And you look how narrow this tank is. It was just very easy to hide it back there. I think this time it's going to go in my cabinet, because this cabinet I have has a lot of space in it. The other one I had was just shelves. It wasn't actually like a cabinet. But that's the perk, is I didn't want like a fire extinguisher, you know, type of big, you know, pressurized cylinder. You know, it's ugly, right? So this is very easy to hide. And again, for me to basically every 2 to 3 weeks empty it out, put the stuff in here, add the water and close it up, it just is part of my regular maintenance for my aquarium. I generally do a water change every 2 weeks anyway. So just part of that water change is I'll take a look at this. I'll see how low the gauge is. If it still has pressure in it, maybe it's at around 10. Okay, I won't change it. Okay, because even at 10, this thing would probably still run another week, going down to 10. But anyway, it became part of my regular fish tank maintenance to fill up the generator. If you don't want to bother, and you just want to set this thing and forget it for a month, and you have the space, then by all means get the bigger cylinder. I just think that, although I was a little worried when this came in the mail, like, wow, this is a lot smaller than it looks online, I'm actually happy that I have this small cylinder, because it's just very easy to deal with. Doesn't use a ton of this stuff. You know, this bag lasts me a few months, and these, again, only around $10, $15 a bag, and that's good for a few months. So it's really a very cheap solution to have very accurate CO2. Now, why did I take this thing down? Because I had a very strange problem, and I don't know if it's a hard water New York problem, but I found that my CO2 diffusers were basically clogging up every week or so. And I was completely dumbfounded. I would soak them in bleach solution, could not unclog them. I ended up removing the diffuser, and I have a small little like filter that I kind of jerry-rigged where the end of the hose, instead of going to the diffuser, went up. I drilled a little hole in the filter, went up into the filter, and so the filter would grind up the bubbles and spit it out. But I'm trying to, and that worked, but I'm trying to do a much cleaner look for this tank. Now, I did actually speak to my local fish store expert yesterday, and they told me that what they recommend is that as part of my weekly routine, don't use the bleach, but to actually soak the diffuser in citric acid solution. Okay, they said that will unclog, they're saying, the mineral buildup from being hard water for the little diffuser disc. So we're going to see how that works. I don't know if it works. This is what they told me. They said, you know, if you use RO water, you wouldn't have that problem. I'm not bothering with RO water for a 30-gallon fish tank. I've never had to use RO water. It's just one more thing that I would have to deal with. And I do like simple. So we're gonna try that out. If this diffuser, which is brand new, does clog, we're gonna try a citric acid solution that I'll sit it in as part of my daily routine, and we'll see if that keeps it unclogged. So anyway, with that, I'm gonna pause this, and then I will connect the video as I actually set this up on the tank, and we're gonna see this in action. Okay, so we're back. So we've got the CO2 going. I'm gonna show you how I rigged this up. So basically I've got the air line coming up to that plastic bend, the thing that I showed you, okay? Goes down the back of the tank. Now this is not ideal. I really should take this shelf out. I put a lantern in here so you can see. Here's a CO2 generator. Okay, you see the bubbles? You've got right now about a bubble a second. I'm gonna slow that down a little, but I just wanted to get the water out of the line. And I had to drill a little hole in this shelf. I really should get rid of the shelf to put the airline through. I could have used a much longer airline, but then I would have to go down the hole in the back. So ideally, this shelf should be removed, but I'm trying to avoid doing that. But anyway, and then it's on this smart outlet right there. I don't know if you can see that. And that outlet is set to turn it on and off. So when that loses power, the bubbles will stop. So I can very easily look in here and check the pressure. If I want to adjust the bubbles. So to adjust the CO2, I simply turn this knob very, very gently. Okay, and right about there is where I like it. Kind of like one bubble every second and a half or so. Is what it's at, is I find works best for me. And you see that even with that low of flow, I'm getting some nice misting out of this diffuser. Now, it seems like it's mostly coming out of one hole. I don't know if you can catch it. I expect that it will be a little wider in time, but this thing just got wet. Let me focus better. It just got wet, but regardless, it's putting out a nice fine, look at that, a nice fine stream of bubbles. Now, preferably, depending on your filter, it would be better if your filter outflow was basically going into the bubbles to dissipate the bubbles throughout the tank more. However, again, the plants are actually doing pretty well in this tank. I really can't complain. I really don't need the CO2. I just really wanted to do it for you guys. And the Red Tiger Lotus, not doing terrible. You see it in the back. It's shooting up a runner right here. Is a new leaf. But I did notice that plant, which is kind of my star plant, there was one on each side. The one on this side looks like it's almost non-existent. But they do much better with CO2. Everything does better with CO2. All right, a couple other tips is do not add CO2 if you just put new fish in the tank. All right, new fish already are stressed, and adding CO2, you can wipe them out. If I'm gonna buy any fish and add to this tank, I would stop the CO2 for a few days. Just a tip of mine, but there's gonna be less oxygen in this tank from the CO2. So the fish that are in here will be fine. They will get used to it. But to put new fish in with CO2 going, I have found that there's problems. More likely for the fish to not make it. All right. But you see, this is a very neat, clean setup. You see pretty much nothing except the bubbles coming out the top. And if you look in the back, and again, you don't need this plastic bendy thing, but it just makes it kind of a little neater. Also, I don't have a check valve. Now, why don't I have a check valve? There is a bit of a risk. Well, because of my issue with the hard water and with the diffusers clogging, the first thing that happens is it blows the check valve literally apart. I went through 4 check valves before I understood what was causing every check valve I bought to blow out in a week or two. So I don't use a check valve because right now there's nowhere for the water to go. When this is turned off, it would just go back down the tube and it would end up down in the bubble counter, okay? So there's really nowhere for it to go. Now, if the pressure builds up so strong that it blows the lines off of this, then I'm gonna have a problem with a leak. So right now I'm just kind of keeping an eye on it. I'm actually, again, because I just had surgery, I'm home for the next week. So I'm going to see how this goes. I probably will add a check valve, but right now I just want to make sure that this is operating correctly. And then the check valve will go at the very top of the airline, right below this bend. But again, I've had problems with the check valves, which are basically all plastic, blowing apart. I did try purchasing one on Amazon that was metal. I actually went through two of them, and no air went through. It's some Chinese brand, and they basically let no CO2 through, so they were completely useless. Anyway, so that's my CO2 guide for you guys. I'm going to put the links to this system in the description. I believe I also got the airline tubing, which again, it does come with, but I bought some better airline tubing. I'll put that in the description. Also the baking soda and the citric acid, I'll put that in the description. Again, they're not affiliate links. I make zero money. It's just for you guys as a reference. Again, the perk of this system is it's so small. It's fitting right there into my bottom shelf. And on this tank, I will be good for, I want to say 3 weeks before I have to refill it. And the whole refilling process, I don't know, maybe it takes me 20 minutes to empty the bottle out, rinse it out. You let whatever remaining gas is out. Rinse it out, put the new powder in there, add the water, close it back up, put it back under there, but you have to let it sit really overnight for the pressure to build up to where it's gonna work. All right, please like, subscribe, leave any comments, any questions. Again, I want to thank everybody. This has just been a really fun experience doing these videos for you guys. Feedback has been amazing. I do have another video coming up where I bought the Denarly pest snail removal tool, and I'm going to demo the tool for you, and you can decide if it's worth spending the $30 to buy it or not. So that is coming up shortly. All right, all, again, like and subscribe, and enjoy. You